Okay, so this is a VDI-40 style holder. This is an EWS holder, as you can see, and we're going to go ahead and create this to be used for simulation inside of Esprit. So looking at this, the first thing that I want to do is orient this holder in the proper orientation, and we've got some tools for that. If you've seen some of the other videos, this might be a repeat. But basically, this is the face that interfaces or sits up against the turret. And I want this W, this blue vector here, to be oriented the other way. I want it to go from here up into the turret. So to do that, what I want to do is basically select this face, and I'm just going to use on the home, I'm going to use my align Z command. So once I do that, it goes ahead and reorients my model so that the Z, the W or the Z, the blue, is pointing up into the turret. So if the turret was in front of me, I'm standing in front of the machine, and this was at the bottom of the turret, this is the proper orientation, because if this is mounted in the OD, it's going to sit in this orientation with the tool side at the positive red axis. So this positive red x-axis I want pointed toward the main spindle. So what we want to do now is create this is how it would appear at the tool station. So when I load this solid onto the turret, this is the home position, which is typically going to be at the face and the center of the VDI bore. Now what I want to do is I want to create the pocket, the definition of where the tool is going to appear in the pocket, and that's going to be here. This is a 20-degree tool, and we have an angle, so what I want to do is reorient my UVW. So instead of reorienting the part, we're going to reorient the actual UVW axis here so that when the tool appears, it will be in that orientation. So we're going to come back to the home, and we're going to come over here, and we're going to pick one of these, and it's going to be this top one, work plane from geometry. So when I do this, I want to find some normal face that would define my z-axis. So what I'm going to do here is just pick this front face, okay? And you can see that my z-axis, this is the kind of the axis that like the square shank is going to be along. So now what I want to do is I want to create I want to find that base position, because when my tool appears inside of Esprit, when I'm creating a new turning tool, I want basically the beginning of the tool, the holder, to start here, extend this way with the insert over here. So what I'm going to do is look for a spot that I can create that with. So I see here that this portion right here, it's kind of hard to explain, but I guess this stopper block for the tool, this looks like it's centered in the pocket. So I could probably just grab the center portion of that. So what I'm going to do is just come to geometry, go to rectangle, and I'm going to pick this Y0 portion, this center point, and this back corner, which is going to be the highest point here. So my tool shank is going to start at this position and go this way. So looking at this, what I'm going to do is come here to home, and again come here to translate. I'm going to pick my icon, and I'm going to pick this center point right here. So this is the point that's at Y0. It's at the midpoint of the span of the shank. Let's say, I don't remember what this is. I think it's a 25 millimeter. So it's going to be at 12.5. If I pick this segment here, 0.433. So what is that distance? 0.433. We'll come up here to calculator, 0.433 times 25.4. That's a bizarre number there. Let's look at this one. 0.98. So this pocket is 0.98. Yeah, it's 25 millimeters. Okay. So it should have been 12.5. So this looks like this. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a point just to make sure that I'm in the right location so that the tool shank that's 25 will come in the right spot. So this is interesting in that this one does not have a span here that in this direction doesn't seem to be at 25. So I'm going to come here to geometry and I'm going to say, geometry, I'm going to say point, and I'm going to say distance. So what I want to do is put in 25, half of that distance, 12.5 divided by 25.4, and I want to pick near this, the end of this segment away from that so that when it creates the point, you see the point created in the opposite distance. So a little tech tip here, if you want to create a point further off of this edge, you'd put a negative in here. So this, I'm going to do another translate. So I'm going to do translate here to this point here. And now this represents the midway of that 25, 12.5 millimeters. So I want my z-axis going this way and my x-axis going this way. So maybe what I'll do here, I think the easiest thing to do would be to come here and do work plane from geometry. I'll pick this segment and this segment, and then rotate my UVW 180 about U, and then I'll do another translate to this point. So now my tool shank will start here and go in the normal or the parallel opposite to the XY plane in the negative direction, with my insert pointing in this direction. So I can go ahead and create my GDML at this point. Well, actually, I gotta create, I'm thinking ahead here again. I'm gonna go ahead and go to underscore tool axis underscore 1, and then I'll create a holder adapter underscore 1. So a tool adapter is going to be created here, and then if I want to use like a GDML holder that I would load from, a different vendor, or maybe EWS makes them, but if I wanted to load in a custom square shank holder, I have the reference point for that as well. So now at this point I can come here to file and save this as a GDML, but what I'm going to do is change some of these colors, because the colors, I would prefer to have a different color besides this greenish shading here. So what I can do is grab basically the whole thing and come here to properties, color, and I'm going to set this to a light gray. And when I click elsewhere, you can see now that my whole solid looks uniform, looks a little bit nicer, but now I want to go ahead and pick one of these edges on the side of the logo. So I'm going to hold my Shift key on the keyboard and grab that ribbon of material here, and you can see that the outside ribbon is completely selected and highlighted, and then hold Control and pick that top face. And now I can right click and say copy. I'm going to come to attribute, pick blue, and I'm going to go back to a shaded view so we can see that. And now we can see that the logo is highlighted in blue. And now if I want to get a little bit more detailed with this, you can do the same thing maybe with this tool stop. I can grab that, I can hold, that's again holding Shift. I pick one of these edges, and it's going to grab that wrapping ribbon of edges, and then hold Control only on the keyboard to add this top face. And I might want to rotate and zoom in and grab this back one just in case, I'm zooming in and I want it to look nice. I'll right click, say copy. I could pick a different shade of gray here, maybe something like that. And now we have a holder that has my tool axis, or my tool adapter position, my holder adapter position. The colors all look uniform. My holder is oriented and at the 0 center point. I'm going to go ahead now and say File, Save As. We're going to come here to Holder Files, GDML, and I'll call this OD Face Turn, because if it's mounted on maybe a VDI disc turret, I'm not sure if this could be mounted on a face turret or not, but I'm going to go ahead and just put that in the name here. I'll say OK, and we can now load this in Esprit simulation. So when you have this on the turret, now this is a face mounted turret, and I don't even think that these can be used on the face, but just because of the way the notches are, but I could be wrong about that. I don't, I've never set up one of these disc turret machines. So looking at this, we have, any of these can be edited. So like I was saying before, if I load this, I have 180 here. So, these orientations can be changed. If I change this to 0, it's going to flip that holder around. Obviously, you're not going to use it that way. But you can put in, so if you have an OD, if it's on the OD, it could be facing toward the main or facing toward the sub. So, and I'm not sure, depending on, like on a Capto, depending on where the hole is, how you mount it into the machine, do the turrets, do they flip back and forth? And the same thing goes for the milling holders. So if I look at, these milling holders, again, these are mounted on the face, so they're really only going to be mounted one way. So let me turn the machine off. We can see this a little bit better. If I come down to one of these holders, looking at this guy, you can change that orientation however you want. So depending on how it's mounted in your machine, you can use that to control this. So even if you made the GDML in the opposite orientation, when you load it into Esprit, if it's not in the correct orientation that it would be actually mounted on your physical machine, you don't have to redo your work. You could just come in here and put in the orientation angle that you want and get it set to the proper orientation.